Hi, welcome back to Behind the Lines. I'm Lynn with my co-host Bob Greenberg. Saw you got out golfing the other day. Enjoying the weather?
Yes, I got a chance to go out there and play a little 9 holes at Tam-o-Shanter, and course is getting in shape, and it was just great to be out there, no question about it.
Yeah, this is the great time of year. You know, my wife said the other day, this is why we live in Western Pennsylvania. You know, when the weather was so nice, that makes a difference. Yeah, and because of the nice weather, our high school sports teams are starting to roll. You know, they're getting out there, they're getting to play on dry fields, finally. Well, semi-dry, still a little wet some places. But before we go into high school sports, how about those NCAA playoffs? Were they great?
Oh my goodness. I don't ever remember a run of games all the way down the line, like the last 2 weeks. The Elite Eight, the Final Four, and the championship game were all just fantastic. You know, you couldn't turn away. You knew something special was going to happen, and it was really a great story to see Virginia win, simply because, you know, a year ago they had the worst loss in NCAA history, losing as a 1 seed to a 16 seed, and you know, kind of a good lesson there for other teams out there at all levels, that even in your worst moment, you can find the motivation to try to turn it around a year later. And I think they will be a story that will be talked about for years to come.
Yeah, worst to first. Of course, as long as they don't fire your coach when you get to lose to the number 16 seed for the first time in history.
And you know, Tony Bennett is a guy that made his way to Mercer County multiple occasions in the active recruiting of Oscar Shoeboy and Maceo Austin, and they both offered those two guys scholarships, and they, you know, obviously went other directions. But everything I heard about Tony Bennett was good things.
Sure.
He was at Hershey last year watching those guys play, just a first-class guy, and you got to really feel good for a program that, at least from the outside, does it the right way. And I think they deserve to be rewarded for it, and it's definitely a great story.
Only problem was those 9:20 games on murder. I mean, here's a Super Bowl, the most watched sporting event in the United States every year. They can play that at 6 o'clock or 6:20. Why can't the NCAA move those men's games up a little bit?
You know, I think I saw a question on social media was a good one. I know they pushed the times back to try to get the biggest audience across the country, but the question that somebody asked was, do they lose more viewers on the East Coast than they gain on the West Coast? And I think the answer is probably yes, because there's just more population on the East Coast, but it's a challenge. And you know, just after a long weekend, the game was good, but I know a lot of people that are not real big fans of either one of those teams are dragging here on the day after the game on Tuesday.
I was conked out. I didn't get to see the end.
I did not see the end. I mean, I had it on. I heard it went into overtime, and that was about it.
I watched the highlights.
Did my best.
Yeah. How about the women's game? Did you get to see any?
I did see that.
It was great.
You know, I saw somebody post on social media, so I flipped it on, and my goodness, what a fantastic finish there. Baylor and Notre Dame played as entertaining a game as I've seen at any level this year. And fun to watch, no question. Really another snapshot of how great the ladies are playing this game today, and it was definitely worth my time for sure.
And I was rooting for Baylor there at the end because they deserve to win. They built a big lead late in the third quarter. Their star player gets hurt. Notre Dame's able to make a comeback because of it. But Baylor, they rallied, hung tough, and pulled it out.
You know, I was telling my wife as we were watching that game that, you know, the Allie Campbell, who played for Bellwood Andis, who played against West Middlesex, is already committed to Notre Dame. And I said, how good she must be if she's at this level with the top players in the country. So just to tell you kind of an idea how good that girl is, she's going to be playing for Notre Dame in a couple years. Notre Dame is about as good as it gets.
Of course, we got to see Allie Campbell play this year.
Correct.
She is good.
Very
There's
good.
No doubt. You know, speaking of no doubt, our high school teams are going to be solid this year. How about baseball? You've gotten to see some games.
Yes.
Your son plays for Hickory. He's doing well. How's Hickory look?
Hickory's got a nice team, and you know, I actually kind of made the comparison to that West Middlesex girls team. What I mean is, Hickory has a real nice, strong upper class, and then they've had a couple young freshmen and sophomores now that have kind of got into the lineup, kind of like Middlesex did this year. They had their basketball team added 3 freshmen, so a really nice mix. First-year head coach Gray McKenzie's done a fine job, and it's great to see Gary Hinkson back in the dugout. The longtime veteran coach at Hickory, the winningest coach in that program, came back to the program, and so far so good for Hickory. Long way to go. A long way to go in the schedule. Also a long way to go with some of the away games. Hickory's got a schedule this year, Lynn. at Titusville, at Oil City, at Franklin, at Conneaut, at General McLean, at Sippy Rock.
That's crazy.
A lot of traveling, and
Yeah.
that's a story for another day. But District 10, I think, needs to really tighten up these regions. In a day where everybody makes the playoffs, it's still ludicrous to me that we don't have an all-Mercer County league, where like a team like Hickory not playing West Middlesex this year is beyond reality, while they have to travel to General McLean to play a non-league game.
Right. And if you put them all together, even if all the Mercer County teams are in one, and you say it's one region, but you could still give region champions to Class 1A, Class 2A, and such.
And then a point system that they use in other sports could be used to determine the seeding for the District 10 playoffs. And I'm telling you right now, it'd be better games, more excitement, better for the parents and the fans. We went to a game at Titusville, and in all the years that my son played, we never played Titusville. So there were no kids in those teams that anybody knew. And unlike the local kids where they played up and down the line, I would hope they would look at that and try to do a better job putting together these regions in some of these sports where traveling really isn't needed.
Yeah, and like Hickory, they don't even play West Middlesex. And West Middlesex has a really good team.
Really
this
good
year.
team.
That would be a great game.
It would be a great game. It would be a big crowd. The kids would love it. But it's where we are right now. Hopefully, the District 10 will continue to look at that and make some tweaks to the system where it's better for the kids, better for the fans and the parents, than maybe better for a potential playoff seeding down the road.
Maybe Region 2, there's a lot of our local teams in there, luckily. In Lakeview, Wilmington, Sharpsville, they all look pretty good. Then Region 6, you're all the way up there with Slippery Rock. Slippery Rock's a pretty good team this year. Grove City's down.
Grove City's down. We saw Slippery Rock. No question, they're going to be a competitor down the road. And that's what makes it kind of tough. You start looking at, as you said, these teams are all spread out. You don't have some of the rivalry games. But I think West Middlesex off to a good start. Hickory's off to a good start. I see Lakeview's not doing bad early on this year as well. So Sharon's struggling, which is unusual. But you have to believe those guys would turn it around here as the season goes on. Sharp's also not a bad start for them as well.
Right. And there's a lot of games left. We really can't say, how it's all going to turn out. But it's going to be fun to watch because there's some really solid athletes out there. It's softball. Reynolds and Sharpsville appear to be the powers in Region 1. Grove City and Slippery Rock are both pretty strong in Region 6. Jamestown, of course, they're combined with Greenville. So that makes them a little bit better. And so they're in Region 5, and they should be contenders. It's going to be great. Of course, pitching dominates in baseball and softball. Even more so in softball, I think, than it does in baseball.
Well, I think especially in softball, as you've seen well enough, that one pitcher can dominate because you don't have the pitch counts for softball. Baseball, to be a really good team, you need to have at least 2 or 3 good pitchers. But softball, one great pitcher can really control a game and give a team a successful year. So no question, pitching is the key. Softball more than anything.
And luckily, when I pitched, I had you playing the outfield, so that helped a lot.
I helped covering some of those balls you threw, but
you had to run a long way.
I had to run a long way a few times.
You didn't catch those ones over the fence.
Those were hard.
Track and field off to a great start already in these invitationals. I think the thing that's going to be fun to watch, is Hickory's Brock Grundy and Wilmington's Connor Pascal. Those two great athletes.
Seems like those are going to be the 2 big battles, at Mercer County Invitational, and then districts coming up. No doubt, Connor, the sophomore, kind of surprised Brock at the Middlesex Invitational last week, and I think that'll be a nice rivalry we will keep track of. A lot of outstanding athletes in Mercer County on both sides, boys and girls, running and throwing. I don't know if we're going to be at the high level we've been in the last few years when it comes to state championships, but still some great athletes that will do very well as we get down into the districts and into the state meet.
And the usual teams are up there: Hickory, Wilmington, Slippery Rock. It's going to be really good year.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's I think it's interesting, and the weather really dictates a lot of it at this point. And I think a lot of these athletes like to perform in warm weather. We haven't really had a lot of it yet. Yesterday and Monday, maybe the 2 best days we've had so far this year. But as the weather warms up, you expect the performances will also heat up as well.
Yeah, and then over in tennis, Hickory Greenville appear to be the 2 powers. Hickory beat them 3-2 yesterday, and in the one doubles match went right to the end, and it was a great match. So that Could go either way if they play again.
A lot of sports going on right now. You got between softball and baseball and track and tennis. We do our best to keep track of all of them, and as we go on, no surprises, we'll have some of these athletes really competing for the top level as we get into late May and early June.
Yeah, and as long as the weather holds up, I think they're going to get a lot more experience as games go on. The younger kids are going to see more at bats and get better as it goes. And I think once we get to the district playoffs, we're going to make a run for a lot of these teams.
And we encourage it all the time. If you haven't been out there, go watch some of these sporting events, a track meet or a baseball or softball game or even a tennis match. Very high level players we have in this county, and I've been out to a lot of them. So have you, and they're very entertaining. Most of them outside, maybe a big meet or two are free to get into. So it's a great way to support the local athletes and go watch some good sports.
Yeah, especially on a nice day. 4 o'clock in the afternoon, take a run out to one of these fields, watch some of the kids play, and I'll tell you what, you'll go back because they are that good. It's so much fun.
Now, if the games were starting at 9:20,
yeah,
like basketball last on Monday night, I probably wouldn't be there.
Yeah, especially when they're playing in the dark.
That is true.
Even more difficult. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back in 2 weeks with more information on all the high school spring sports teams.